Okay, homies, as I'm editing this video, I'm realizing that it sounds like I got a frog in my throat. I apologize. This is the ethnic cure to coronavirus. It's like a bunch of spices, lemon, and water. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I actually filmed this video yesterday and then I looked at it and I was like, I don't like it. I don't. So we're here refilming, but that's all good. Today's video is really laid back, very chill. I've got my tea with me. So we're just gonna have a gentle conversation, if that's possible. Little life update for any of you who care. If you don't, you could just skip ahead. But unfortunately, my family actually caught COVID. I'm the only one in my family who has tested negative. I'm the only one who's tested negative. Everybody else in my house has COVID or had COVID. So it's been a difficult past few weeks. Family, friends, and my friends have been really great and really supportive. So I'm really appreciative for that. I'm also in the middle of my exam season. So I'm like doing 100 things at once every single day. I'm almost done though. So when I'm done, you know, I'm gonna be a free bird. I'm gonna be a free bird. I just hit 100 subscribers and I know that might not seem like a lot to a lot of people. That was my goal to reach this month and I'm very grateful to everyone who's tuned in, watched a video or two, and then hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate y'all, so thank you so much. Without further ado, let's just get into today's video. So today we're going to go over romance and rom-com movies and just what they do to our own perceptions of love. Ever since I was a little girl, I always believed that love can honestly conquer everything. Like, if you really love someone, at the end of the day, you guys can face all adversity and still end up together. And I want to say I still believe that to a certain level, but as I'm getting older and older, I realize that, and I'm sure many of you watching this video can agree, that as much as you can love someone so much, there are just some things and some reasons that lead to a relationship coming to an end. Sometimes you can point out the reasons, and sometimes honestly things are just not working, and as much as you love someone, it just isn't meant to be. So I wanted to look into romance movies because they play a really big role in our understanding of love. I think one of the most popular genres out there is rom-coms and romance movies, and in almost every film, every storyline, they always sprinkle in a little love interest because as humans, we're all obsessed with the idea of being in love or being loved by someone. It's that feeling that everybody chases after to an extent. Not all of us wake up every morning like, I want to meet the love of my life today, but you'd be lying if you said that, you know, love isn't something that you search for in some kind of way in your life. Whether it's romantic love or love from a friend, love from a parent, we all want love. We all want a partner and a companion at some point of our lives. So first, let's go over the definition of escapism, because I think the term escapism is an important part of analyzing these films. Escapism means the tendency to seek distraction and relief from unpleasant realities, especially by engaging in fantasy or forms of entertainment. Escapism can be used just to pull us out of our boredom and transfer us to a different reality for a temporary amount of time, and sometimes people use it to escape feelings of depression or sadness and even loneliness. Escapism comes in all forms. Escapism can be taking drugs. Escapism can be watching movies so that, you know, you're out of your own reality for a little bit. Escapism can be ignoring your responsibilities and doing something else so that you don't have to deal with what you really got to get done. There's so many forms of escapism, but what we're going to talk about today is how we escape our realities and try to live through the characters that we see on screen when we're watching romance movies. Because truth be told, romance movies have had a very big influence on young people and our understanding, our perceptions of love. And I think it takes every individual a very long time to understand how love really does work in the real world. And I wanted to look into why we are so obsessed with romance movies and rom-coms, and then take a look at more realistic love stories through film and how those kind of pull us back down to planet Earth. So why do we watch these rom-coms and these romantic movies? A lot of us have been in relationships that didn't work out in the past, or a relationship where we really had to struggle, and watching these romance movies or these rom-coms allow us to sort of live through the characters that we're watching on screen and watch two people fall in love, and no matter what challenges they face or how incompatible they may seem at first, they somehow always end up together. And to be able to be there with those characters and experience that kind of pulls us out of our own loneliness of not having a partner with us or not having that happy ending all the time. We get to live through these characters and experience their indescribable love, because love really does bring this euphoria that cannot be explained But love also does bring a lot of other emotions with it as well, such as heartbreak and pain and sometimes even self-discovery. But when we watch these movies, we don't have to deal with all of those other emotions as well. We just get to deal with the love at hand. But how I think these movies affect us is more important than what they mean to us temporarily. Some of us can watch these films and differentiate real life from just a movie, but because film has such a big influence on us as human beings and our understanding of the world around us, these rom-coms can sometimes lead to us looking for these unrealistic expectations in our real life. A lot of these films also have these really harmful stereotypes and tropes that get glamorized, and maybe not for adult women, but for a younger audience, these narratives can be extremely harmful. So I want to talk about some of these harmful effects that some rom-com movies can have. Before I do mention all of that, I do want to say that let's just take a look at history. Back in the day, certain things were okay to be depicted in film or to be part of storylines because society back then didn't realize how actually problematic these things were. And today, a lot of those things we can't do anymore because we recognize how absolutely disgusting or harmful they are, and that we can't keep pushing these narratives. I think the movie American Beauty, which I actually haven't watched myself, but I've heard a lot about it, which is about like an older man falling in love with a high school girl. At the time, it was all the buzz, and to this day, it's still a classic. But when we think of that movie now, we can definitely point out how problematic it really is. And yes, some shows and movies still use that storyline to a certain extent, but not as blatantly, because we are well aware how problematic and how disgusting it really is, and what it perpetuates and what it tells us is okay versus what's not okay. So when I point out the harms in some of these rom-com movies in terms of tropes and stereotypes that they constantly repeat, I say it because I feel like at a certain point, we kind of have to change the narrative. Let me talk about a rom-com movie that I actually kind of like, even though I'm not really into rom-coms anyways. I really do like To All the Boys I've Ever Loved, or whatever that movie is called, because I didn't see those harmful tropes or stereotypes in that film. But there are other rom-coms that are just one of the narratives that constantly get repeated in some of these rom-com shows that I don't like is that the girl always gives up either her career or everything she had planned for herself in order to be with the man of her dreams. And there's some women out there who are totally fine with just being a housewife and having their man provide for them, and that is completely okay and that is completely valid. But what I don't like is when we start to see a woman, you know, with ambition and a little bit of a plan for herself, trash that all and put it away to the side just to be with a man. It kind of pushes this narrative that that's what a woman has to do. That's what a real woman does, is leaves and puts everything that she had planned for herself all the way to an end just so that she can cater to and be with this man. As if maybe that just means that you two are not meant to be together if you can't work out both of your lives and make them work together. I kind of saw this in The Notebook. I watched The Notebook about a couple of years ago now, but as much as the movie is really cute and it's really sweet, our main character ends up sort of leaving her entire life the way she knows it just to be with this dude. And as much as that seems really cute, and it is really cute when you're watching it, realistically, that's quite a sacrifice to have to make. You know, she comes from a family of money and she was engaged and she has an education. She got stuff going for herself. And I'm not saying the man that she loves ain't shit just because he doesn't have the same things that she has. But the fact that she gave everything that she has away to be with a man who doesn't really have the same assets that she has, and the only thing he can really provide for her is his love, threw me off a little because I'm like, that's just not enough. Like, love is not the only thing an individual needs or two people need to keep a relationship going. Serious relationships take a lot more than just love. They really do. And sometimes serious relationships end not because the two people fell out of love, but because it just turns out that the way the world works, it's not meant to be for the two of them. And another harmful trope, and this one I can rant about this one all day, but I'm not going to. I'll save y'all the time. But it's the But it's the glamorization of the bad boy. He's dangerous, he's mysterious, he's got these problems, and he's never really into anyone. He just likes to fuck. But then he meets this wholesome girl who's usually a virgin. She's not the prettiest girl, but she's definitely really beautiful if you look at her closely. And even though he doesn't want her at first, once he gets to talking to her, she just takes his heart and runs with it. And now finally, the bad boy can love someone. That's basically what it is. Look at a movie like After, where our main character Tessa is literally a virgin. And I hate that we do that with virgin women. It's like being a virgin makes you this like untouchable person, and you know, this, I don't know, it's like virginity is so pressed in our society. If you're a virgin, it's like, if you're a virgin, that's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with being a virgin, right? But it shouldn't feel like such a, but it shouldn't be something that makes you stand out in a crowd. You know what I mean? Like if you're a virgin, you're a virgin, and if you're not, you're not. Period. Like what is so, what's the big deal around it? I just don't get it. And I think it's really weird that some of these movies and shows really like to hit on the fact that this girl's a virgin, that she's never been touched before, that, you know, she's still innocent, but you know, you're gonna step in and he gonna take her virginity, and then she's gonna be this freak all of a sudden, like. But Hardin, our bad boy in the movie, is everything I said the bad boy character is. He gets dared to make Tessa fall in love with him, and throughout the movie he just ends up actually falling in love with her himself. But then she finds out that he was dared. She gets upset, they get into this whole argument, her heart is broken, but in the end he comes around and he says that he's never experienced anything better, and that she's the best thing that's ever happened to him. And even though he's emotionally unstable and cannot be emotionally available, doesn't know how to take care of himself or to deal with his emotions properly, he still wants to be with her, and she's willing to fix him just because the love is so real. I think that narrative is so harmful, especially for a younger audience, which movies like this are targeted to, because it makes young girls believe that, you know, that mysterious, mean, bad boy that every school, every high school, and honestly every crowd has, is the man that she should be chasing after, that he's the prize. Even though in real life these men are usually emotionally abusive, don't know how to communicate properly, oftentimes are cheaters, and sometimes can actually be a physical danger to the girl because he doesn't know how to control his temper or how to deal with his emotions properly. And I feel like some of the things that we chase as young girls, if we don't recognize how actually harmful they are, we still go into our adulthood looking for these same things in a man. In the second movie of the trilogy of After, which is called After We Collided, Hardin is still an asshole. He's still absolutely trash. Literally, he belongs to the streets. And Tessa meets some other boy who's hardworking, respectful, and actually cares about her. And even though Hardin literally fucks up like 20 billion times, she still leaves the hardworking, kind, caring man to be with the bad boy. It doesn't work like that in real life. You're gonna exhaust yourself out and honestly kill your own happiness chasing a man who cannot change for himself, because men and women don't change for anyone but themselves. You really cannot sit there and change a woman, and that narrative is so pushed in rom-coms and romance films that a woman can come into a man's life and just change him. But it doesn't work like that. Like, men will not change themselves for a woman. Men will change themselves for themselves, and when they're a better person, that's when you should be approaching them. Not when they're a problematic youth and just don't know how to behave. No sir. And finally, the last thing I want to touch on is Bollywood movies. I'm South Asian, so I grew up on Bollywood films and I love them. I honestly don't regret all the Bollywood movies that I've watched. As much as some of them are so corny and some of them are problematic looking back at, I love Bollywood films, and if you've never seen one, highly recommend. My favorite personally is Om Shanti Om, so you should go check that movie out. I think it's on Netflix right now. It's so great, it's so amazing. And some of the old-time classic Bollywood movies are just so beautiful, so elegant. The music is always just out of this world. The lyrics are so heartfelt. But some Bollywood movies definitely do really mess up our perception of love because they are so fanatical and so unrealistic. The big blockbuster ones just make it seem like love again will conquer all, when that's just not true, unfortunately. Bollywood movies normalize the idea of stalking a woman and make it look like this glamorous thing where you're just watching a woman be elegant from afar, when in reality you're actually stalking her by watching her every move from like a corner or something. Bollywood movies make it seem like two people meet each other and all of a sudden just connect like nothing else, know everything about each other, know when they're upset, know when they're happy, know what they want, know what they don't want. And there's no actual communication needed because they just naturally know everything they need to know about the other person better than anyone else in this world could, which again is not true. And that's something that I actually inhabited, I guess, from watching these movies. But in my past relationship, I definitely expected that my partner knew things about me in terms of what I wanted and what I didn't want right off the bat without having that conversation. There are some things that like every man and every woman should know about, like how to treat a partner, right? Like there's just some generic basic mannerisms that a relationship needs, but certain things specific to me, I definitely expected that my partner just knew that without actually telling him those things, and that just doesn't happen. Like people don't just know you right off the bat. They need to talk to you and they need to go through it with you in order to understand how to cater to you, and Bollywood films don't really let us do that. The two characters, like I said, are just meant to be. They inherit one another. So I guess we're supposed to believe that that's how love looks like in real life, but honestly it's not. And finally, the last thing that I want to mention is that in all of these movies, every rom-com, every manic pixie dream girl movie, and most romance movies, the escapism kinds, the protagonist is always extremely beautiful. They like to push this idea that she's actually not, that she's average, but we all know in reality that the girl is actually genuinely very beautiful in real life. And beauty is something that everybody exhibits in their own way, but we definitely all can tell when someone is exceptionally beautiful or pretty, and when someone is average or mediocre. There's nothing wrong with being average or mediocre, but as a spectator, especially young spectators, and I don't even want to say young spectators, I feel like anybody watching romance or rom-com movies a bunch because they enjoy it, when you start to always see somebody that doesn't look like you, that's always exceptionally beautiful, it makes you feel as if you're never going to be deserving of love like that because you don't look like that. I definitely went through that. I feel like when I was a little bit younger, I didn't really see myself as pretty or beautiful the way these other girls in these movies looked, so I just never thought that a man could actually love me like that because I don't look like that, when that is far from the truth. And realistic love movies definitely touch on, you know, just the average person falling in love, but the glamorous rom-com romance movies always have a very pretty protagonist, and those are usually the movies that get pushed to the forefront, right? These are the movies that everybody talks about. These are the movies that we are pressing more onto people, and so in these films, seeing these negative and harmful tropes wires our understanding of love and our own self-love as well, and it doesn't in a way that isn't positive, that isn't realistic. And so as much as these movies are very enjoyable to watch, unrealistic romances, if not watched critically, can set us up with unrealistic expectations and sometimes lead us to having this feeling of entitlement as if we deserve these perfect love stories, which essentially sets us up for disappointment and failure. And it also excludes people who don't look like the pretty girl next door. Yo, I have a whole ring light behind me and I just never bothered to turn it on until just now. So I apologize for the change of lighting because I just don't know how to do the basic things I need to do to film. So let's wrap up this movie talking about more realistic love stories and realistic films about love. Realism portrays a more realistic, dynamic relationship that faces adversity, and the two don't always come out the same. Oftentimes, they don't even end up together. Marriage Story is definitely one of those films that I think everybody loved because it really did portray a love story that was realistic. The two main characters were in love and unfortunately fell out of love because their relationship wouldn't work out, but that didn't mean that they stopped loving each other. It just meant that they knew that they couldn't be together in a marriage anymore. Nicole was always giving to Charlie. She was always catering to him and his needs, never having her own needs being catered to and never having her own individuality being celebrated. She became an extension of Charlie's life, and she knew that she couldn't continue her life going on like that. And the two decide to have a proper divorce where they have to go to court and everything. Charlie gets pulled away from his son and can't be actively involved in his everyday like he used to be, which leaves him on the sidelines and has him emotionally distressed. Hurtful things get said between the two during very heated arguments where they just can't seem to find a common ground, but the love is there, and they both end up accepting eventually a life without one another romantically, but still being able to co-parent for their son, which is a reality for many couples. You know, many couples do get married and then have to divorce, but they have children, so they have to find out a way to still live their own lives while co-parenting for the children that they have together. La La Land is also an incredible realistic love story to me because it prioritizes not just love in the two protagonists' life, but their careers, their ambitions. Mia and Sebastian are both extremely ambitious people. They both have some really big dreams and goals, and that's what essentially had them attached to one another. That's what connected them, was how much love they had for the dreams that they have in mind and how hard that they were working to make those dreams a reality. And they were able to fall in love and experience that love for as long as they did. And it was beautiful. It was amazing. It was jaw-dropping to look at through screen. But eventually they realized that they could not be together and also focus and put their all into their careers. So they had to end their relationship in order to actually let their careers take off. And that is also a very realistic ending to a lot of relationships, where you know that you can't really do what it is that you love to do and also be there for that person because both of your ambitions and aspirations are just not going to line up. By the end of the film, they both accept that they will always love each other, but that their lives have taken them to different directions. And in the final scene, when Mia looks back at Sebastian after she's accomplished everything that she wanted to accomplish while she was with him, and he's accomplished everything that he wanted to accomplish, they share a knowing look to one another, but then they turn around and go about the rest of their lives, knowing that what they shared was a beautiful memory that they will always have, but it's not part of the reality anymore. And finally, a recent love story that I watched that I also really enjoyed is called Like Crazy, where two people are separated by distance and face a lot of challenges because they are so far apart. They constantly break up but are glued to each other and come back together. But the distance does change their relationship, and by the end of the movie, when they do end up together finally, after everything they've been through and all the people that unfortunately they've hurt in the way, they don't just collapse into one another's arms and just go about their life with this passionate love that they've been waiting to be able to share with one another. But instead, it's solemn. It's a moment of reflection, and we don't know what their future holds, but we know that they're definitely starting fresh in their love story. So what can we as an audience take away from both realistic and escapism love stories? The first thing I would say is to just stop expecting things, to just stop expecting a certain narrative to be placed in your own life that you've seen on screen, and to just exist. Just let things happen the way they do, because everybody experiences love differently. Some of us find the love of our life through bumping into them in the streets. Some of us meet the love of our life through online dating apps. Some of us knew the love of our life since we were children. It's different for everybody, but every love story is valid and every love story is beautiful. Also, coming out of a relationship, sometimes we feel that sense of loneliness, like we've lost that other person and that feeling that love brings. And so we watch these films and wish that we could have had what those two characters on screen had. But instead I think we should each look back and reflect on ourselves and our past relationship, what we liked, what we didn't like, so that we can go into our next relationship understanding what it is that we want, how we can be better for our partners, and what kind of partners we want. And finally, let rom-com and fanatical romance movies be just that, a fantasy, a comedy that we enjoy in the 2-3 hours that we watch them, but we leave it at that and differentiate movies from real life. I feel like there's always a message in certain movies that you can take away that aren't always related to love, or I guess romantic love at least. But again, like I said, let's let rom-coms be rom-coms and enjoy love authentically in our real life the way it comes to us. I don't want to be cheesy, so I hope that wasn't too fucking corny. But that wraps up the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you stayed all the way to the end, I appreciate every single one of you. Make sure to like the video, comment down below what your favorite rom-com or romance movie is. If you want to know mine, it's La La Land. I just love romance